Welcome to Two Gents, where two seasoned gents take on the hard truths of life, success, and responsibility. In a world where the rules don't bend for us, these gents believe in doing the work, owning the struggle, and inspiring others to take action. So, pull up a chair.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome to Two Gents Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Ron Spikes. And I always say that, and I work up until the last minute to get this thing going. So I just want to say thank you for tuning in. If you're out there, I want to say good afternoon, good morning, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're tuning in from. I hope that you can hear me loud and clear. I got my headphones on today, and I think I'm on a different cycle. But anyway, it's gonna work out. Hey, how are you doing anyway? We are here. I'm one of these hosts that come on, and I had a thought that I was trying to pursue, and I'm gonna go ahead and get into it, because one of the things that we gotta realize is that the reason why I come on this air, somebody asked me the other day, said, Ron, why do you spend so much time coming on the air trying to explain stuff to people and trying to break it down to where they can have an understanding? And I want to say this, I never forget the newscast. And newscaster was talking about an area here in Houston. And when he was talking about it, one of the things that he said was, it was a group of white people in Houston early on. The city wouldn't pay for putting down bricks in the black area of town. They wouldn't pay for it. So what the black area of town decided to do, that they was going to lay their own bricks, one brick at a time. See, too many times, and I want to tell you the reason why I'm saying that the way I am right now, and the reason why I wanted to translate to this podcast that I bring on. See, we sit in those barber shops and those beauty shops or wherever we're talking about politics, and we assume that we know everything. We don't. A lot of times we just be running our mouth. And a lot of times the people that's sitting in there are just running. They don't have no purpose. They're not trying to do nothing. They're not trying to do anything that's going to help us get the vote, or help us understand the reason why the vote is going the way it does. The reason why we have to work so hard above and beyond the call. Because if we don't understand what's going on behind the scenes, and I use this analogy, under the table and on top of the table, we never get ahead. We're going to always be asking ourselves the question, why our vote it seems like it never counts. It never moves the needle in either direction. So when we're asking ourselves that question, that's one of the reasons why I do this show, because I want to go brick by brick. This show may not be for everybody. Sometimes when you go to a podcast, sometimes they're out there talking. Their podcast is meant for somebody else that understands everything, front, back, sideways. You can look at some of the titles of the people that they have on there. They're not doing that for you. They're not doing that for you. They're doing that for the people, the audience that they think is the audience that they're for. So if you get lost in the mix, you think they're worried about that? No, they're not worried about that. And see, this show goes a little bit further than that. I have on Tuesday nights, I have a few people that's in here with me, and you'd be surprised how far how far you can define them. I'm not like when you walk into a church, everybody has this title, and I'm gonna tell you everything that they do, and by the time we get to the person, you think they're walking on water. No. One thing about being real and living in the real life, everybody, you can't look at everybody and say, oh man, they better than me. They got this, they got that. No, they put on their pants one step at a time. So let's get into this. I really want to get into this show because, I started this, and I need to get you into it, because I started this on the perception of just introducing you to the candidates and the weaknesses and who all's out there in the field right now, who's making a difference, who's trying to make a difference in what's going on. And I know we're early in this process, but some of the stuff, if we don't get into it now and continue to push the narrative, continue to put the gas, the pedal to the metal, as Pastor Reagan say, or continue to encourage people to get out and vote and help them understand some of the terminologies that people are using on the news and some of the stuff. If we don't do that now, it's too late. It's too late when you're out there knocking doors, because that person already formulated their idea of what they want to do and where they want to go. What we're doing right now is we're helping you get to that point. I'm basically just breaking it down as best I can to get you to that point. So I'm gonna continue to do these Mondays and Wednesdays because I know where I'm going with it. I have a purpose in which I'm going for, and I would do it regardless if I was getting paid or if I wasn't, because I think that it's a bigger picture out there. When you see people come up to your door and knock at it, and they asking you for their vote, they stepping out of their comfort zone. So before we get into anything today, and I mean anything, before we get into anything, I'm sorry, I'm getting choked up. But before we talk about anything, where we're going, we need to talk about how we got here. Because this didn't start yesterday. It started on the day one that this man sit down in office, and this is based around his term. And we done talked about, and I told you the reason why I got here is because I wanted to bring in the candidates and explain them to you. But see, I kept on asking myself, why are you doing that? Because if you do that, you missing. It's so much that you're missing. You can bring them in and talk about them and their weaknesses and where they at, but you haven't explained. You haven't laid out the platform for them to even come into, because it's so much that's happened in the past year. And I say past year, a little bit more than a year now, that we have to cover, that we have to dissect and put it out there first. And this is going to be a part. This is going into a two-part series. A two-part series. I'm just letting you know ahead of time. I'm gonna bring in the candidates, and I'm gonna let you make your decision based on their strengths and their weaknesses and where they're at right now. I'm gonna let you make your decision on how they got there. But you need to know where we're at right now. Why? And people would ask, why do you spend so much time on this? It's too late when it comes time to vote. When you're begging people for your vote, it's too late at that point, because they ain't already formulated in their mind, or either they haven't even went to the poll. They think that their vote don't count. We have to go through this to get what we want in the end. And this is going to be a kind of like a long. It's going to be long, but it's going to remind you of some things that happen. It's going to remind you of some things that's happening, and as it reminds you, I hope you understand. At one time, it was rules to what we did. There was guardrails put in place. The things that we used to take for granted are not there no more. The guardrails are off. This man has established that there's no guardrails. And here's the truth. Because where we at now, somewhere, some room, where we at right now and what we're discussing right now, in some room somewhere, somebody else is discussing the same thing that I'm talking about right now. They're doing it far away from the media, eyes of the media. People already put names on boards and trying to figure out what candidate works, what candidate don't work, what's their weakness, will they be able to follow them? They're mapping out who they want in the race. Why can't we do it? That's the question. Why can't we do it? Why can't we map out and kind of figure out, start researching who we want this far in advance and let them build into our vote? Don't have nobody turn around at the last minute. And I say this all the time. If you don't vote for this person, that's a vote for the other person. No. I'm gonna build my own candidate, and I'm gonna follow him throughout this whole process. And that's the reason why we're starting here, because we want to have an educated voter out there. You know, they're deciding who gets the money, and the PACs and super PACs are already lining up. Believe it or not, the people that I'm gonna discuss on Wednesday are already on the super PACs, on the PACs, super PACs mind on how they're gonna spend their money. What gives us the best angle? Who can we control the most is what it's gonna boil down to. Who can we control the most? And not only before they get in office, but who can we control the most after they get in office? See, super PACs and PACs, they operate alike. They operate alike. It's all about control with them. And see that part right there is a part that normal voters don't understand. But they'll throw those words out there on those other shows, and they'll put them out there and thinking that people truly can identify with them or they know what they're saying. Then you'll see somebody go into a barbershop or a beauty shop or a church or somewhere, and you'll see them and you swear they know what they're talking about. They couldn't even tell you what a PAC was or a super PAC. If you think I'm lying, you listening to a person that really didn't know the functions of a super PAC. But as I super PAC and PACs, as I got to digging into this, I started shaking my head. Because of all the times that you go out and vote, you never think about who's behind the scenes. You never think about how they manipulated to get you to vote. You never think about that. You never think about the money that goes into a campaign. They always tell you who to vote for. And they always come with this excuse, Democrat or Republican. If you don't vote, that's a vote for somebody else. You got to ask yourself the one question. You got to ask yourself one question. And this is the most key question that you got to ask yourself. How has that worked in the past? What did we accomplish by doing politics as normal? Nothing. They had bad Democrats, they had bad Republicans. Every cycle seemed to repeat itself, the same forces moving first. Every cycle, the money decides. But you didn't know that unless you researched a PAC and what a super PAC did. Money. Those ads that's coming out on the media that's attacking people, that's doing all the rest of the stuff that you think are coming out of the candidate's pocket. No, they're not. They're coming out of those PACs, super PACs. And and one of the biggest PACs out there is AIPAC. And you say, what's AIPAC? Well, AIPAC is Israel's PAC. Oh, yeah, they got a PAC in America where they go around and they talk to politicians under the table and above the table with money. They start putting money out there. If they don't like you, they can attack you. The candidate that's running for office may not know anything about it, but they can attack you. Every cycle, we're reacting to choices we didn't make. We're reacting to their choices. And that's why I'm doing this, because over the last year, we drifted so far from what used to be normal politics that the next person that's coming up, and I'm going to say this, the next person that's coming up, Democrat or Republican, going to have to dig themselves out of the hole. And when I say Democrat, even Republicans, because any of the candidates that was Republican, the first question that the American public gonna want to know, how come you didn't stop that crazy man in office from talking? How come you didn't put any restraints on him? How come you didn't come out publicly and say anything against him? That's their question. Now, on the Democratic side, most of the most prominent people that's out there, two of them are Kamala Harris and Buttigieg. They were in the cabinet of Biden. Somebody somewhere is going to ask the same question of them. Why didn't you say something about it? Why didn't you say what was going on? You know who actually said something that, and I saw it this morning on TV? Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi. She said she couldn't support it. She said she couldn't support it. And it was at a point where she had to open up her mouth. Because she seen what happened during the debate. She probably had heard what was going on before the debate. But those two candidates, Kamala and Buttigieg, they're going to have to answer some hard questions, just like the Republicans on Donald Trump. It's not going to get easier. And how did it get broke? How did the system get broke where we at this point? He broke it on day one. We found out exactly how much power a president had on day one. Now, he didn't just do it during this term. This has been building from the first term. And even though Biden rolled back some of the stuff that was going on, he didn't roll back everything. So when Trump came into office, he already had a foot in the door. He was standing ahead of everybody else. He knew what he was going to do. He knew whether he messed up. He knew, let me just say this, because this needs to sink in your mind. He knew where he had messed up the first time. He knew that when he brought his kids in, when he brought all them actors, them people that they was calling to testify against him on the Hill and everywhere else, he knew he messed up. So this time what he did was he cleaned it up a little bit. He got his family out of the way. He put them in positions where they can make money outside of the White House without having Congress scrutinize so much because they're not holding an office or coming into the White House all the time. They're on the outside. The information that he passes to them, probably it's not going, they can't, what they're going to do? They was talking about his son buying stocks and how much the stock increased so far in advance. Youngest son. I'm just saying, you some of this stuff is, we're going to break it down and we're going to do it almost as a reminder. The ability to lead the United States of America, what we ask for a president or a person at this point in time is totally different. And it's almost like before Christ and after Christ. It's almost like before Donald Trump and after Donald Trump. Because the person that comes in next, they're going to have some, as we say in Texas, they're going to have some big shoes to fill. Big shoes. Not in theory, not in fantasy, not in a comment section, but for real, they're going to have some big shoes to fill. I'm just telling you, get prepared for it. Because they ain't going in day one. Yeah, they can go out there and do what he did day one. But some of this stuff ain't going to change for years. It may not change till their last day in office from some of the changes he has made in America. And if people are preparing themselves for that level of power, we have to prepare ourselves to vote for him. We have to know it's not about personalities anymore. It's not about good speeches and the noise that goes around with a candidate at that time when they decide to run. We have to know that ahead of time. This is a job that somebody's going to have to take on. This is a job that's not meant for everybody. Every candidate that I'm going to bring up may not be the one that may not be the person at the end, but we need to know what's going on because the job has changed. The country has changed. How the world look at us has changed. So today we're going to walk through sort of a documented timeline. I'm going to phase it in phase by phase. I'm going to try to break it all down, how American politics shifted from predictable to chaotic. No speculation. No, it ain't going to be about speculation. It ain't about what somebody said in the barbershop. It's going to be based on facts. So when you leave this thing, I want you to have the facts so you can go out and research it for yourself. It ain't about rumors. I'm not good at doing rumors. Just what's on the record. Because before you can choose a leader that's going to lead America in the next cycle, you need to know what they're facing, what their battles are. You need to know that. I got a cold and sinus just a little bit, so you're gonna see me reaching for my nose. I know they don't do that on TV. We got to understand the battlefield that they're walking into. You're asking a person to go into a battlefield where there's mines already set, where he has put people in place that they may not be able to get out of the office. So on day one, this person needs to go in and fire everybody. Everybody. Because if they don't have the fortitude to fire everybody, they got minds out there set. They're gonna walk into a battlefield, and they don't know where they're stepping, because it's the plants that's out there that's gonna make a difference. You gotta clean up. Either it's gonna be cleaned up or you're gonna be out of there. Let me just say that, because they're gonna hold you to a higher standard. The next person that goes in the office is gonna be held to a higher standard. And I don't know why we're talking about standards or what could happen, because the standards in which this man has established since he's been in office, none of that makes any sense. None of that makes any sense. So I just want to say, before you get out there and make your judgment on what should happen and what shouldn't happen at this point, let's just kind of look at some of the stuff, and I'm gonna put my stuff up here, because that's the only way I'm gonna be able to get it. I need to put my stuff up here, and you may see me do some stuff behind the scenes, and you may begin to question, what does he have in? Is he sane or whatever? But no, trust me, I'm here. I'm here in force, because I need you to know. I need you to know some of the stuff that we're going to ask. Why are we spending so much? You already asked these questions. Why are we spending so much time on this? Why are we breaking all of this down in detail? Why go back through the norms, the rules, the guardrails? Because this country is gone. It's off the guardrails. That man that's in office, he's doing some stuff that's just not normal. Because right now we're somewhere in a place that we don't even have an understanding of. So before we talk about what's normal politics, what normal politics mean, we have to talk about what's changed. And to do that, we have to go back. Because it didn't start in the middle. It didn't start in year 2. It started with a crisis. It started immediately on day 1. The country shifted from a system built on institutions to a system built on personality. I'm gonna say that again, because I don't want to use his name when I go into this. On day 1, it shifted from a shift. Well, let me get this right, because the country shifted from a system built on institutions and laws, a system person. And you know who that personality. On day 1, the traditional relationship between the White House and the Justice Department, intelligence community, and the press changed. It changed. I mean, anybody that don't know it didn't change. When he was sitting up there, he was changing everything that we knew about politics. On day 1, the rules of engagement with Congress, the tone of exchange that he made. I am, me, my, I, and everything like that. It changed then. He was setting the tone. The expectations changed. From that moment forward, everything that used to be routine became a fight. The travel ban rolled out and immediately hit the courts. The FBI director was fired and a special counsel was appointed. The intelligence community publicly challenged. They were doing the job, but they were publicly challenged by this man in office. And that was doing this, some of this is in his first term. And this is what we're dealing with. So before we get into who should accept that challenge as being the next leader, I'm throwing some stuff out there. The press was declared the enemy. The staff was turned over. The staff began to turn over. Some of them were handpicked by him. They turned over. He turned over everything that he did. Let me tell you where it came from. Lack of education. Can you imagine if anybody would have came in there and did the same thing that he did? What about if Obama? I'm just throw it out there. What if Obama would have came in there and did the same thing that he did, that he's doing right now? What if? How long do you think he would last in office? And he still continues to make stuff happen. I need to get through this because this is a long list of stuff that you need to be aware of. As the months turn into years, the breaks in the system got more divided. I'm just telling you. The Justice Department was, I want to make sure I can see this because I don't want to miss nothing. I need to educate you as I'm going to educate you this information in a way where the Justice Department was pulled into political battles. I know I still my camera. I saw it on Instagram, but I hope you can still hear me. The Justice Department was pulled into different battles. It wasn't a country moving in unison. No more. It wasn't a country that was moving in unison. It wasn't a country that the U.S. that the world could look at and say, "Hey, you know what? Something's wrong. Something's definitely going wrong." I mean, the FBI was attacked in public. FBI that supposed to be a line of law and order. The courts were targeted. Media got to a point where it was targeted. Yeah, it shows, and this might have been his second term, but just think about it. It started in the first term. It didn't just start here. Jimmy Kimmel was just an example in the second term when he got a little bit smart and he thought he was going to be able to kick him out by using one of his agencies, and the agency thought they could do it too. But in the end, it changed. We spent a lot of money doing dumb stuff. Now, I'm telling you all this because you need to know what you're asking this candidate, whoever it may be, that decides to sit down in that office of president, and they say it's a possibility that's going to be all Democratic this time. You just need to know. You just need to know that it may be all Democratic this time, but they have some uphill battles that they're facing. And they're going to have to make a list. They're going to have to get somebody to make a list of what's going on. And you know, part of the problem, even the election process itself was targeted. Think about it. Our election process has been in place for years. If it's tainted now, it's because of the computers that's out there. If it's tainted now, it's because of the technology that's out there. And we need to understand, he called it out and said that it was tainted with no evidence. Still has yet to bring forward any evidence that supports what he's saying. But every time somebody talks to him about election fraud, he's still there. We went through a pandemic. He was given a prescription for killing people. People that took the stuff that he was talking about doing was killing people. And we got somebody that's in office right now in the second term. Only thing I can say, he got a worm in his brain. And that worm must be sucking up all the knowledge that he had over the years. Great name. Great name. Came from a great group of people. But he's not that one. He's not one of them. He must have been that one way at the bottom. Or that worm has got to him. The national emergency that required coordination became a national argument about reality. That's first term. In the second term, the CDC was challenged. The FDA was challenged. State governors were challenged. Public health became a bipartisan divide. The Democrats wanted to help. The Republicans, at some point, they was following this fool, whatever he said, until he got called out. When the medical profession said, oh, no, we can't go that way. We can't go that way. And the man that led us to a pandemic, he was taking a lot of the blame for what was going on, but he got us through the pandemic. And then, I'm just laying it out here. I hope you understand that what I'm saying. I'm just putting it out here. Then came the election 2020. Mail-in voting was questioned. Certified results were questioned. State officials were pressured. The Justice Department was pressured. The country watched a peaceful transfer of power turn into a security event. I'm gonna say it again. As you watch this, because this is part of what this is on his watch. This is part of what he tried to do the first time and threatened to do it the second time. And I'm gonna hold Congress and the Senate accountable for this, because you never changed the rules that would allow anybody to do January 6th again. We done went through some administrations. I'm not calling no names, but I have yet to see anything that was changed that would prevent anything that happened on January 6th from happening again. Just saying. January 6th, it was measured. A measure of how far the system had been pushed with that man in office. And after that, the country didn't snap back to normal. I'm just saying, the country, it took some time. And just think about it. He has done more in the past year than he did during his whole presidency last time. And I might be leaving some stuff out. The institutions didn't reset from the temperature. The temperature didn't drop. The political culture didn't heal from the last time. You know, that's January 6th was part of his first administration. Some of this stuff, most of the stuff that I just got through talking about was part of his first administration that carried, see, Biden, let me say it like this. President Biden tried to change a lot of it. I give him credit. But some of the culture that was out there, the people that were out there, they didn't want to hear none of it. They wasn't looking to hear none of it. So we're going to shift just a little bit to a world where the United States is in a war with Iran. A war that didn't come out of nowhere. This war was eventually going to happen, but it didn't have to happen on his watch. It didn't have to happen on his watch. We knew it was going. We knew that it was coming. We knew that it was a can that could have been kicked down the road. And a lot of people say, well, you know, Iran was developing nuclear powers and all the rest of this. But didn't he go in there and bomb Iran and say that he had took away their capabilities? Didn't he go in there? I'm not putting stuff on him. I'm just asking you because this is the kind of stuff that whoever is nominated for the president of the United States during the next cycle is going to have to cover. And then these questions are going to come up when they going through the interview process. Oh, we don't have to ask that. We shouldn't even be worried about that right now. Okay, say it. But when you repeat the same cycle that you was in before, because you didn't look at with all the changes that's been taking place you don't have a voice. You need to pick somebody that's going to represent you, somebody that understands that step by step being walked through, that that we need somebody that's in office that's strong enough to deal with this. And they may not even be on the list that I'm bringing up. But on Wednesday, I'm gonna tell you what their strengths are and what their weaknesses are and what they have to be accountable for. But I'm telling you right now, this is stuff that they gotta deal with. Years of pressure, years of institutional has been weakened. Years of the global signal that we send out, the signal that we send out to the rest of the world has been destroyed. We went from a nation of being strong to a nation where other leaders are talking to us like we're one of those countries that don't have a purpose. And it all started day one. The United States has been distracted. This war has distracted us from what we should have been rebuilding. We got too many problems going on in this country within our own country that we don't need to be in a war. And I know some people are going to say, well, I did say it was going to happen, but why did it have to happen on his watch? That's what you should ask yourself. The breaks at home created opportunities for other countries to find out, to go look for other sources where they was coming to the U.S. I'm going to give you an example. Canada, right up the road. Don't we have a pipeline or something that's coming down to the U.S. that's supplying gas and all the rest of that? Canada never had the power to dictate to us on terms what they was going to do and what they wasn't going to do. We're here now. That's another relationship that's going to have to be cleaned up. You don't have to go all the way to Iran. Whoever the next president is going to have to clean up north, south, east, and west. He done attacked so many institutions. The fight over elections, the internal chaos, all of it sent a message to the world. When a superpower looks divided, we're not divided. We're looking weak. The rest of the world gets more dangerous because at one time we could have went out there and we could have said something, and they knew what we stood for, and they would follow us. So when we talk about cleanup, we're not just talking about. I'm gonna tell you. I need to make sure you understand me. I'm going to look straight at the camera. We're not just talking about politics. We're talking about national security. We're talking about global stability. We're talking about the consequences of the system that has been under pressure since day one. And if we're going to understand what it will take to fix it, we have to understand what broke. What broke? The timeline, the patterns, the escalations, the consequences. This is just a map. This is a context. This is a stage for everything that follows. You're asking this person, whoever they are, to handle everything that I just mentioned. You're asking this person to handle it. Nobody, I want to say this. Nobody has ever been put into this position ever before in our history. We didn't have some bad, we didn't have, Lincoln was shot. We didn't have some situations that happened within the office. Look at, I want to say his name, but I can't get it out. Nixon. Nixon got caught with his hand in the cookie jar. We even had Edgar Hoover, who did some atrocious things to this country back in the days of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and the stuff that was going on for civil rights. And one day I want to just go back in history and break that down, because I don't think we understand how much of a role J. Edgar Hoover played. But we're on this right now. We're on another person that's destroying. Now let's break it down. I told you some of the issues, and I just want to break down some of this. Governing by conflict. The fights got bigger. The attacks on DOJ, the attacks on the FBI, the attacks on the press, all became routine. We done got used to it being routine, because every single day this country is continuing to function. We get that stuff thrown up. It's just became the norm. It's just like, you keep hearing the same thing over and over and over. Eventually you start to act like it, walk like it, look like it. That's what he does every day. This became the norm. We went through the largest government shutdown in American history since this man's been in office. We're still in a partial shutdown right now. It hit the country. He hit the country over border funding. Border funding. He locked us in. Now, I don't think there's ever been a time in history where people went to work without getting paid, but we ask a lot. We ask a lot of a group of people. TSA workers went without pay. Air traffic went without pay for a while. Mission essential agencies were left unfunded. He didn't care. And if it was still up to him, if he wasn't president of the United States, if it was still up to him, we'll still be there. And the country saw what happens when government becomes a negotiation. A negotiation. I'm going to say it again, because in my military background, they say you have to say it again. When government becomes a negotiation, the Mueller investigation led to indictments and convictions on multiple associates of his. Multiple associates of his. You don't see any of them hanging around the White House. They're all running. As a matter of fact, one of them is I think his name is Banner, is saying, man, if we didn't get the White House, we would be going to jail. We're gonna all be going to jail. They ain't gonna have, the next president is not gonna have time to tie up what's going on in the Trump administration, because they're gonna have to clean up this mess that's going on. And trust me, if they can't make a list of what needs to change in this country, if they don't see it, one of the candidates I'm going to talk about is a governor. He wasn't even invited because of this person that's in the White House. Never heard of him. Like I said, all this normal stuff is going out the window. It's gone. It's not there no more. Agencies have been gutted. I'm putting it out there. You can, this is something that the next president is going to have to deal with. The Dodge report showed how many people were lost their, How many people lost their jobs during the Dodge report? How many offices were just closed out? Nobody there. How many functions were deemed not good for the U.S.? But let us have an event or something like that, and I guarantee you, what happened before Donald Trump is not going to happen. And that was getting people aid or whatever they needed during the time of storms or whatever. They needed those resources to rebuild what they had. It wasn't free. Most of it was a loan. The people that couldn't afford it probably got theirs free, but majority of it was a loan. The Weather Service lost key personnel. Noel. They still laying people off. As of today, they still laying people off from these different agencies. No longer needed. But we in a war. The CDC saw a shift in leadership. That fool that's got that worm in his head is up there running. Hell, he said you shouldn't be vaccinated. Didn't we? Didn't we just go through a scare with the measles? I'm just breaking it down so you can understand what the next person that's going into the office is going to have to face. I got some comments out there. I'm going to yield for just a minute to answer some comments. I'm sorry if I didn't get you on. I was talking to my girls last night, 20 and 22 years old, and they both said that nothing is going to be able to stop these young folk from taking over, cleaning house. They are done with this. You know, I want to say this and then I'm going to go back to where I was. You can say that in theory. They can say that in theory, but nothing prepared us for this fool that's in office right now. Nothing prepared us for day one when he sit on that stage and when he started writing executive orders. Nothing prepared us for that. It doesn't matter if it's a Republican. I'm going to say this again. It doesn't matter if it's a Republican or Democrat. This country has gone so far down the drain that it's going to be hard to recover. And anybody who disagree with me on that, I'm calling this out. That's the reason why I'm calling it out now. Because before I can get you into a list of candidates that is running for office, I need to get you on board of what's going to happen, what they will face if they go into office. See, other channels out there telling you, well, this person's running for office, and I feel that they can do this, they can do that. But they don't tell you exactly what they got to do on day one. They ain't gonna be able to do the same thing that Donald Trump did. They're gonna have to have a list, and some of this stuff is not gonna happen for years. Maybe 2 or 3, 4 years into the administration. And I say that because it doesn't matter if it's a Republican or Democrat that takes that next seat. It's some stuff that Donald Trump has messed up so much, I don't ever think we'll get back. I'm going here. Yeah, I knew who it was. I knew who it was. The cruelty at this point, because of their greed, has no bounds. I'll say this. What we're going through right now has more to do with his family's greed than what's best for the country. This second term in office, yeah, he was scared. Because if he wouldn't have got elected in the office, he would have been in that jail cell. Or sitting down somewhere with restrictions on what he can do and what he can't do. Restrictions on what he can say about politics and what he can't say about politics. I got a lot to get through. I want to get through it because if I don't get through it, I can't go to my show on Wednesday because this needs to be out there in the public. ICE went through mass hiring without a clear mission. And the actions that still haunt us. Part of the reason why we got this partial strike going on today is because of ICE. The Democrats don't want to pay ICE. Why don't they want to pay them? They don't want to pay them because they don't have an actual clear mission. Just trying to tell you. Don't. This is something that the next president's going to have to deal with. And through all of this, we forgot one important thing. Oh. Let me get to this. I want to make sure I get this right. Even the Department of War, they renamed the Department of Defense and think that they did something. Go back and do your own research. I always say, I put it out here. Go back and do your own research on this one. It was called the Department of War first. Back in 1949, I'm just putting some history out there. You can go fact check me. Back in 1949, Harry Truman, president, was created. This was created to change from the Department of War to shift it to a more permanent and stable situation by changing it to the Department of Defense from the Department of War. See, y'all thought this was new. But if you go back in history, go back and Google it. I always say, I'm going to put it out there. President Harry Truman changed it for this very, very purpose. So it wouldn't be perceived that we were a nation of warmongers. So it wouldn't be perceived that that's all this department did was handle war. So we set ourselves back just on that. And I can guarantee Donald Trump didn't go out and research before he agreed with this fool that was in office. Guarantee you. I'm still going. The system built to defend our country, not to fight itself. To defend our country, to give people a chance to understand what was going on. I see you out there. I'm going to go back over there in just a minute. Yeah, I know it's funny, but it's a reality. No background check. No, none of that. It ain't nobody going out researching history. Nobody going out saying, you know what? Why did they change from that? Probably didn't even know it had changed. I'm just telling you, and I'm going to constantly remind you, this is what the next president's going to have to deal with. This is just some of it. Just think about the stuff that we're not seeing. As clear as this. Some of this stuff started back in 2017. Just letting you know. It's been through 2 cycles, and the past year has been the worst time this country has ever been through. And let's go here. The shadow of the Epstein files has been floating and following this whole system throughout this whole process. There has never been a president a president in office, maybe a past president, but a president in office that was caught up in some Epstein file, like we are right now. This thing has carried on through a couple of administrations. Just want to put it out there. But it's still out there. As soon as this war is over with, guess what? They might even be in person somewhere. Somebody's still looking at the Epstein files, whether or not they're concentrating on this war or not. Somebody looking at it. I'm just saying. And the attorney general, you're right, because the attorney general that say she was going to put the records out there, she put them out redacted with everything that you couldn't, with most of the stuff that you couldn't read. And they didn't even do a good job of that, because then they had to pull them back down and then re-put them out, because with a certain type of machine or copier, you could still see what was up under there. We get this out here real quick, because I'm right here. When the attorney general get fired by a convicted felon, you know we absolutely we are. Absolutely we are. And it's probably because of Epstein files. He wants to shut them down. A reminder that was a good reminder of the justice system that we live up under. Never do I remember in history that the president had the power to tell the justice system what they can pursue and what they can't pursue. He may have talked about it, but he never told them what they can pursue and what they can't pursue. So this is something else that's got to be cleaned up by the next person that goes in the office. You can't just put anybody in there. It's time out for that. We got to stop. Here's what we got to do. We got to put somebody in there that represents the people, not represents the PACs, not represents the previous leadership that was in office. That has to step outside of the box, because if they can't step outside of the box, we're gonna be right back here. And when it comes in the next cycle, presidential cycle, they're gonna be running on the same thing. And you know what the Republicans are gonna say in the next cycle, not just this cycle, because they have to clean up so much. They say you didn't do nothing about it when you had the opportunity. Do nothing about none of it. So the person that you put in office, they're gonna have to be extraordinary. They're gonna have to be above board. They're gonna have to adjust for everything that has gone on in this administration, or else they're gonna fail, because they're gonna be called out every minute of the day. And here's something else that's not on this list, and I'm gonna go ahead and get through it. Trump, during his whole time out of office, he called out everything that Biden was doing in office, and he got media coverage to do it. Every single thing that he did. There has never been a person that I can think of in history that was able to control the media like he did through the whole Biden cycle. Help me understand that. That's another thing that's got to be overcome. Just throwing it out there. And I'm going to say it once again. On day one, a year ago, we shifted from a country with institutions to a personality. I'll say that again so you can understand. On day one, and I'm going to go all the way back to the first time he was elected, we shifted from a country of institutions to a personality. And that's where the Republican Party is right now. It's so much going on. There's so much going on out there that I want to take this comment. My break is over. I'll watch the rest of it this evening. Great show. Thanks. I appreciate it. Because there's too many other media channels out there. There's too many other channels that do the same thing. They say they're doing the same thing that I am. But they're talking to a different audience because they're talking at people. They're talking at people. And a lot of the things that's going on in what's going on with Trump needs to be broken down and reminded on a daily basis. Reminded of on a daily basis of the stuff that's going wrong in this country. And if we're going to elect somebody else, I want them to come out and address at least half or more of what I just got through discussing with my audience, the people that's listening. Not the ones that know everything, not the ones that went to school for politicians for a lifetime, not the ones that's been in the office and they understand the behind the scenes. I'm talking about everyday normal people like myself. Because I get an education, believe it or not, every time I go in there. Yes, my vote is my vote becomes my voice. But unless I become a more educated voter, I'm no different than a person that didn't vote. Maybe you didn't hear me. I'm going to say it again. Unless I become an educated voter, I'm no different than a person that didn't vote. I hope that sinks in. There were other breaks that didn't get the same headlines that this guy did behind the scenes. The first, and I'm going to say this because we're still here. The first healthcare promise collapsed. They didn't have a plan. He didn't have a plan. See, these kind of things that affect everyday people. Healthcare. I got a solution for it. Put Congress on the same healthcare as normal people. Put them on an affordable healthcare program. Take away everything else that they bid on for them because they senators. They should be on the same program as normal people. And I guarantee some of the problems that normal people going through will be resolved. Because they're going to bring it to the floor where my daughter went through this. My son had to go through this. Put them on the same health care. That'll solve some of the problems. But this person ain't trying to solve problems. He's taking us to war. He's spending so much money on this war. And trust me, I want to go back here and say it. Don't say that I'm speaking against the war and that we wasn't going there. But now that we're there, we got to fight it. Yeah, we got to fight it because you put us here. A war that we shouldn't have been in. Now, the whole world is looking at us. We don't have this ain't like Vietnam. This ain't like Afghanistan, where Russia was in there 20 years fighting a war that they walked out from too. This ain't like none of them. This war is going to be pointed directly at your administration. So if you don't end it or get it right, that's something else that the next administration is going to have to deal with. And they can't I'm going to give you an example of a bad way to end the war. And I'm going to say this, and I hope that y'all can follow me. Because Trump called him out on it. Think about Biden. He made the promise to get out of Afghanistan. Yeah, they destroyed equipment, did all kind of stuff. But war is not simple. Not all the time. The person with the biggest guns that goes in there is not going to win that war. Look at Vietnam. Vietnam got divided by two countries, a north and a south. I don't know what's going to happen in this war, but I ain't saying that we shouldn't finish it. I'm saying that we're here because he put us here. There's something else that the next president We might be in this war all the way through till the 28 election cycle. I hope that we can get somebody in there, even if we impeach him. I don't think it'll ever get better because they're going to have to walk that line that we're on. And Iran is calling Iran. Anyway, I don't want to go just into the war. Healthcare just turned into a cave-in. Democrats had the opportunity to solve it too. So I'm going to tell you, a couple of them just went on the other side of the aisle like it wasn't nothing. And it didn't work. They had the opportunity to solve it. Now we're here. They blaming everything on the Democrats. But anyway, that's another show. The second healthcare promise, never delivered. Just kick it down the road. That's all they're doing. After the first shutdown, didn't somebody make a promise that we was going to take it up? Maybe not now, but a little bit later. Didn't that come out of the Senate? I just want to know. We kicked the can down the road. What we agreed to was to push it further and further into the future before we make a final decision on health care. And yet we stick our chests out. Now, and I'm going to play this before I get off this air. I don't care how long it takes. I'm going to bring it up and I'm going to play it. This right here is my personal issue. And I'm going to say it like this. And then came Charlie Kirk. A story that never should have been in national media, but became one anyway. Maybe you didn't hear me. A story that should never have been in national media. We even had some Democrats that voted to give this man a day that should have never happened. And I know everybody you're going to look at me and say, well, how does that? It plays into the narrative that we've been discussing. Because if somebody can go out there and get a day, or they can still have an institution running that's against another group of people succeeding in America, call it what you want to call it. I call it KKK. Because America is not founded on one race of people. We're going to all have to learn to get along. And what he was putting out wasn't good for America. Then when a president and a vice president and members of the Democratic Party agree to what he's saying, somebody's going to have to come with a different message when they go into office. And I don't care how long it takes to the 2028 election this month, every month that I'm here, that I'm doing these things, every month you're going to see this video at the end that I'm putting up. It came, I ain't going to take credit for it. It was put out a different way than what I put it out. But I'm going to play it because that Charlie Kirk issue just shows me something about this country and where we're at right now. It tells me a story of a group of people that used to raid at night, burning down houses, lighting crosses on fire in the yard, with hoods on. They didn't want to be seen. They were the local people within that city or county, wherever they came from. They had a group and they called it the KKK. The only difference now is that the hood's off. They don't care. That's where the country is. That's the drain that it's in right now because they done took their hoods off and they sitting in the country, sitting in the White House right now. One generation removed. If you don't want to accept it, Mother and father that was in the KKK took proud pictures. Go research it on the internet. I wish I would have brought it up. I would show it to you right now. The son of KKK members is sitting in the White House, and we wonder how come the Charlie Kirk incident happened. They don't care about you. The only thing that they care about is their family making money. They were losing money. Think about it. I'm gonna draw this up for you. They were losing money before he got elected as president, because he was fighting in every court in America that there was, appealing it up to the Supreme Court, which he had put into place. How do you think that was going? I'm just sharing with you some stuff that the next president of the United States is going to have to deal with. So make sure that we get the right candidate in, or we're going to be like Biden. It's going to be a 4-year cycle. And I'm going to tell you the reason why, because he's going to blame all this stuff back on him. Whoever the president is, they're going to blame it on him. If the Democrats don't get it and the Republicans get it, we're going to blame all this stuff on the Republicans, and we're going to try again to fight to get this office. But if we get a Democrat in there, we're going to have to understand that Democrat is going to have to deal with all these problems. Forget about what everybody else saying out there in satellite radio, saying in other programs, social media programs, they fighting each other and all the rest of it. Have you heard the list of stuff that the next president has to do? The changes? Charlie Kirk is one of them. Somebody's going to have to redirect America and let them know that that's not how America's built. That got me to the next thing. One of the other things I wanted to say, and I know I'm on here for a long time, but I need to put this out here so you can understand. Do you know Trump started taking away money from universities because they didn't agree with his narrative of what he was trying to present? He held up funds from going to major universities because of personality. Not, you heard me talk about institutions, because of personalities. And this guy, Charlie Kirk, went around to each one of those campuses, challenging people, saying that, here I am, sitting down there at each and every one of those campuses saying, I don't have my hood on. I don't need it. I don't have to come at night. I'm invited to every university out here to spread my hate. I'm walking through your front door. And you can't challenge me because I got the support of the president and the vice president and their staff. If you don't believe me, go check it out for yourself. I'm gonna play the video at the end because if you're not looking at this United States and the next president of the United States and what they're gonna have to build on, I want to that Charlie Kirk video is gonna show you. Man, I got off on the thing. Let me just stay here for a minute. I said this before, and I'm gonna say it during this video because it just shows you where we are as a nation. Now, I just told you about what Charlie Kirk was doing, going across the nation, going across all these Americas, spreading this gossip, this I want to say it like this BS across America, not trying to pull together, not trying to show us that we all got problems or anything like that, because he didn't do that. I'm not going to sit here and lie on him. But we had a man recently passed away, and I'm going to call him out, Jesse Jackson. All his life, I don't care about what anybody else says, but majority of his life was spent fighting for equality among men. fighting for equality among men. He wasn't the only one. Charlie Kirk called out Dr. Martin Luther King and said that he should have never had the stage that he got on. Jesse. Maybe most of y'all too young. You know, y'all said that the younger people say that they're gonna fight you. But let me clear something up with you. Unless you vote and educate yourself, it ain't gonna change. And I gotta draw this line here because there's some people out there that voted what was against their best interest. And you say, what do you mean? 2 examples. It's some cattle farmers that went out there and voted to get this man in office, thinking that they was going to help them. Instead, he goes to another country and gets. In Texas, you can go anywhere. You can't even drive you can't even drive 5 miles without seeing some cows or horses somewhere. So why would you go outside of this country unless it was in your interest to do that? Help me understand. We spend more money buying imports from other countries in vegetables and all the rest of that. Why can't we grow them right here? We paid farmers for years not to grow on their property, not to produce a crop. Now you go all the way across, and I'm gonna say this because I always say the rules are a little different north of the Mason-Dixon line than they are south of the Mason-Dixon line. Because you can go to those same farm communities where you drove down on the highway and they had fields of things growing. They had airplanes crossing all across the highway, trying to support the stock, fertilizer, watering, whatever it took. But you go to those same communities right now, and it's farm equipment that sit in the field rotting, rusted. So tell me, how did you vote for this man? You voted your best interest out. While we over there fighting that war right now, what we should be doing is trying to put farmers back to work. Because believe it or not, those tariffs going to have us paying a little bit more for the food that's out there because of the actions of this man. And this is going to all have to be rolled back. So when you're considering a candidate, I'm going to tell you, there's some stuff out there for you to really think about. I don't know how long I've been on here, but I'm not going to be on here too much longer. But I want to say this, and then I'm going to shift into the transition of getting off here. So you put a man that spread hatred across America and his organization, and then other people tried to pick up the narrative, and then you want to fire people that spoke against this man? This is where this country has gone. You wouldn't even give a man that's dedicated his whole life to equality a chance to lay in the country, in the highest place in the country that he represented for so many years. Gave his entire life, ran for president. Ran for president. And you wouldn't let his family have the honor of laying him in there because this is the culture that we're in. Sad. You see the shift. You see the priorities. You see the country that we have become. You see the difference in the country that we have become since he's been in office. Fights got bigger. The attacks on DOJ, the attacks on the FBI, the attacks on the press, all has become routine. The largest government shutdown in American history, I told you about TSA workers, and the country saw what happens when government becomes a negotiation tactic. I don't want to go through this whole process, but I just want to go through it where you can still have understanding. I'm scanning through what you need to be aware of, but I can't. Here's another issue. January 6th and the aftershock in 2021. Nobody has done anything about it. January 6th wasn't just a moment, it was measured. It was thought about. A moment where in history where our vice president say that people were saying he should be strung up and hung from the highest office in the land. Here, I thought I covered everything, but I didn't. There's a blockade going on in Cuba. Now, frankly, they did need a regime change there. But why should you approach that when you're in a war with Iran? You just kidnapped the president of Venezuela and his wife. Not to mention the donated airplane that's still coming, I hope. It may not be coming now because Saudi might have to spend some money rebuilding some stuff where your airplane is not there. Oh, we're not supposed to say that. It's already here. Y'all know it's already here. They're working on it. But, well, I bet you Saudi is sitting back saying, I wish I wouldn't have sent him that airplane. I bet you they saying that. They didn't see what was coming. I'm still going. I'm bringing y'all up. There was an attempt to purchase Greenland. Take Greenland. Take Greenland. Why? Some of the dumbest ideas that I have ever heard from any administration has come within the past year. Everything in the media can't be fake news. Everything in the media can't be fake news because even a broken clock is right twice a day. As I get down to this, I told you I'm getting ready to close it out, but stuff just keep on popping up. And the 34-count convicted criminal that's sitting in the White House right now. And being accused of being a pedophile, Epstein files. His name almost in there as much as the guy that did it. Just saying, it's a lot of redacted pages in there. And there's some digital media out there that's probably still haven't came out yet. That might be the reason why. That might be the reason why Pam Bundy is looking for a job today. I know I've been on here for a while, but I hope I got the Pam Bundy. If there's anything else out there, it's going to have to be documented. It's going to have to come in another time. But I hope that I raised some questions about what's going on in America, how the political process and the legal process got intertwined by personality. Not anything else, but by person. A person that thought that the institutions were doing things the wrong way And he went about adding his personality into it. And now we're in a whole different ball game altogether. Pam Bundy, her reputation is totally destroyed. Her mother and father, whoever it was that put her through law school, did whatever, all the stuff that she went through. Not saying I feel sorry for her but she did a good job. And that's what happens when a person does a good job for this person that's in office. And they mess up and do something that he really don't like, or he sees something that's coming down the road that she can't handle. What promises were made, what promises were broken, and who was no longer valued, and who was no longer a value to that purpose. That's what Pam Bundy became. And in the background, after all I told you about, Epstein files still out there. A reminder of how much the justice system is spending trying to cover up what this man has done. The second term didn't start where the first one ended. It started on a different path. One day the country saw an immediate reversal, the immediate executive actions, immediate signals, and including myself. I sit right here and say, at least it's a change. At least it's a change. We see somebody taking action. But I eat my words right today. That change wasn't for the betterment. This term would not be continued, but when somebody comes into office, you're going to have to write a whole new chapter. They're going to have to close this book and reopen this country. This is not a country that's built on rules, laws, and regulations no more. It's built on personality. You're going to have to remove that personality from what we look at right today. And unless you can do that, you're not prepared to run this country. You're going to have to do some stuff that's total opposite of what any other president has had to do. You're going to be held accountable more than any other president that's going into the office. So when you get ready to say I'm running for office, know that you're packing the burden of a nation, and you got a lot of stuff. You got new pressures. You got the intelligent community that's out there. You got a relationship with the world. You got a relationship with the government. It's so bad that he got the House and the Senate and still having problems. We already divided. We already tired. We already carrying the weight of the previous 4 years, and that weight only got heavier during the past year. Whew. The pressures of the institution didn't slow down, it accelerated. The same agency that had been gutted in the first term were asked to operate with even less capacity. The Weather Service is still recovering. They still laying off. CDC, not operating at all. That's another personality. Not for the best of the people. ICE created an agency, hired mass people out there, never gave them a detailed mission. Personality. And through all of this, the country has told the media that everything was fake news, so the media can't even report. You can't even talk about this man on the air without him challenging you or sending the FCC at you. We've never been at this point in history. Foreign policy shifts have gone. We don't have any respect. The war. We're there now. There's no formal presentations of intelligence coming from any organization where he's at. No traditional process to draw from. Authorizations. Whatever I say goes. It ain't none of that other stuff that was in place. Rules and laws. That's over with. It's not normal. to shift back to something that happened back in 1949. Everybody's watching. Allies question the process. Adversaries are testing us right now. China, Russia, French, Spain, all of Europe, they're testing us. It's sad, but we're being tested because of this person. We don't have the power. We spread too thin on too many fronts. I can't tell you how what's going on. I can tell you what I see. The breaks at home have become the breaks abroad. Where we are now, in 2026, that person has a long list of things to take care of. A country, we're living in a conflict. A government under pressure. A public trying to make sense of what can we do? What's going to happen tomorrow? Because he lives in the cycle. We was living in the cycle where stuff happened 6 months to a year or something like that. We're living in a cycle where we don't know what's happening within the next 24 hours, what we may be into, or what has happened. Institutions that were strained from the first term are being tested to work with what they got. Decisions made on day one of this term have led us to where we are right now. And that question, the country, the question the country is asking is simple. Who is? This is a couple of questions. Who's prepared to lead the United States out of where we at? This ain't a moment no longer. This is in the past year, this is going to take almost the whole next term of the president, whoever gets in there. That's what we asking, Democrat or Republican. Is there any objective? I done jumped all over the place. But I put stuff out there for you to make a decision. Who can restore this? I don't know. I don't even have an answer. And who can clean this up? I don't even have an answer. But the candidates that's coming up on the Democratic side, I will discuss their pros and cons on Wednesday. And please join us on tomorrow night. It's me, Byron Glass, and Pastor A.F. Riggins do our show tomorrow night. Pastor brought up almost the same thing. It's pressure coming from everywhere. Everybody's looking at us. The world is looking at us. We're looking at ourselves. We're questioning everything that we ever did in history. The Constitution has been thrown out the window or rewritten on a personality of a person. Somehow, somewhere, we're going to need somebody that's strong enough to stand up and willing to accept the challenge, because they're going to be scrutinized on everything that they do. And I'm going to say this again, because I said it at the beginning of the show. Before we talk about where we're going, we need to talk about how we got here. And that's what I've been doing. Because this didn't start yesterday. It started day one of the personality of that man that's in office right now. He put his personality on the nation. Now everybody has to suffer for it. So when you ask, when the time comes for you to vote for a person, make sure that person's strong enough to know that they're in a battle that it's not going to be easy. The Republican side is in the same battle, because they're going to have to, whoever they put up is going to have to justify everything that's going on in America. Charlie Kirk. Before I get off this air, I want to add this at the end, because this is truly where we are in America. I wasn't going to play it, but I'm going to play it, because I need to close out the show with something that's going to open up your eyes. Maybe what I'm saying is not making sense to you. Maybe what I'm saying is not making sense to you, but I want you, not going to add to or take away, but I'm going to tell you, I just need you to see it because I'm going to play it once a month all the way up until 2028. I need you to hear
it. Are qualified. And in the spirit of affirmative action, we have Ramon and Cadillac are your two pilots. They've never flown before, but they are black. If I'm dealing with somebody in customer service who's a moronic black woman, is she there because of her excellence, or is she there because of affirmative action? I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously.
The war on white people continues.
You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously.
We are raising a generation of weak people like Simone Biles.
LeBron James is a self-interested, narcissistic, and we know he's not very smart.
You're representing your nation. You're selfish sociopath.
Not very bright, not wise, not somebody of good character.
She is a shame to the country.
Blacks in America did not have the same rights they had today. Data shows they were actually better in the 1940s.
Let's get loud for Kyle Rittenhouse. I'm also going to offer some context and some nuance about the death of George Floyd that no one dares to say out loud, which is that this guy was a scumbag.
Remember what BLM stands for? Burn, loot, and murder.
Now, does that mean it deserves to die? That's two totally different things. Of course not.
Prowling blacks go around for fun to go target white people. That's a fact.
There's no such thing as white privilege or racism. So
Black people are allowed to talk about black culture in a way that white culture cannot. Black people can come up and say that there's a baby mama problem in black America, and white people are not allowed to say that. Oh, I just did. So what are you going to do, cancel me? Black people are allowed to say, black people are allowed to say,
I'm a grown man, I got way
black people are allowed. Skin color now gets their own summertime celebration. Oh, wow, look how far blacks have come. It has now become a racial complaining day. Thomas Sowell and Justice Clarence Thomas are far better black role models to celebrate than Martin Luther King. This guy is not worthy of a national holiday.
There's a mythology around MLK that does not warrant the reverence that he gets treated with in America.
We have a federal holiday to a guy that talked about race all the time.
Kirk describes King as, quote, a bad guy. It's true.
We celebrate the Civil Rights Act more than the American founding.
The country made a mistake when it passed the Civil Rights Act. Also true. The Democrats are not lifting a finger to remember the well over 100 people that have died in Texas Hill Country. The death toll likely would not have been as high if it wasn't for DEI.
Ketanji Brown Jackson is what your country looks like on critical race theory.
You're going to remove my appendix and you're a black lesbian?
Ketanji Brown Jackson is an embodiment of the tyranny that we currently live under. She's an ideological, unintelligent, yet confident fanatic.
Why does Kirk believe passing the Civil Rights Act was a mistake? Now, again, apparently they don't listen to the show because we do that at least once a week, right?
So she wants to be the first ever black woman on the Supreme Court, yet she won't even admit that she's a woman.
The transgender movement is an introductory phase. These doctors need to be put in prison to get you to strip yourself of your humanity. A Nuremberg-style trial to mesh with machines. Interestingly, I think there is an argument to bring back the MRS degree.
Reject feminism.
Young women need to get married at a younger age and start having kids. I'm studying sociology. No, you're not. We know why you're here.
Submit to your husband, Taylor. You're not in charge.
You will find a husband if you have the intent to find a husband.
You got to change your name. If not, you don't really mean it.
Democrat women want to die alone without children.
a lot of them are on birth control too, and birth control really screws up female brains, by the way.
I want to stop there right there because I need to interject. See this guy? He said he didn't want to have kids either. So I guess he fits the narrative too. Go out there and Google it. Don't take my word for it. Go out there and Google it. That's why his picture's up there. Because he said he didn't want to have kids. Go out there and Google it. Find out for yourself. I'm going.
It's really rich. I didn't know women not to complain 50 years ago. That's funny. We should tell them to stop freezing their eggs and start finding their partner earlier and have lots of babies.
Every single one of you need to make sure that your loved ones are not on birth control.
So materially insane to think that 1 in 5 American women will be raped in their life.
It is. I agree.
No, meaning that they're lying about being raped. That
You're comparing abortion to the Holocaust.
absolutely I am. In fact, it's worse. It's worse. Because Jewish donors have been the #1 funding mechanism of radical, open border, neoliberal, quasi-Marxist his policies. By the way, this is my other problem with death penalty. It takes too long, too many appeals. It should be public. It should be quick. It should be televised. Well, at what age should you start to see public execution?
16. I think you could do it earlier. I think you maybe at age 12.
I want to watch that execution. That'll make my day better. A lot. I mean, Joe Biden is a bumbling, dementia-filled, Alzheimer's, corrupt tyrant who should honestly be put in prison and or given the death penalty for his crimes against America.
The Democrat Party believes everything that God hates.
Like, we're dealing with maggots, vermin, and swine here. These are not good people. They're not even a little bit good. In fact, I know people that went to Haiti passively as like agnostic atheists, and they came back searching for Jesus because they saw like legit demonic activity. Kamala Harris wants to see the elimination of the United States of America.
Democrat Party supports everything that God hates.
There's not much you can do, folks. You have a government that hates you. You have a traitor as the president. Buy weapons. I keep on saying that. As top Republicans reject any link between GOP rhetoric and Paul Pelosi assault. If some amazing patriot out there in San Francisco wants to really be a midterm hero, someone should go and bail this guy out. Native-born Americans, you better buy weapons, everybody. Have a lot of guns at your disposal. I would never leave your home without a weapon.
I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights.
We actually need looser gun laws because I think that oh yeah, they said if we have more guns at the Turning Point HQ than you could imagine. Yeah, if anyone ever tries to come, that will not end well. Oh no! Imagine the world without Joy Reid. Imagine the world without Sheila Jackson Lee or Michelle Obama or Ketanji Brown Jackson.
You see what I'm saying? That's the world that we live in. That's the world that we're living in right now. That's the world that Trump created and continues to portray America as. That's not the country that we're about. That doesn't do anything. But that particular video was, and you saw it up there in the corner. It came from Roland Martin. I saw it that morning. Said, no. It's got to explain something. It's got to be added. Stuff has to be added to it. The first time I seen it, and I promise you, up until the 2028 elections, every month, I'm going to play that video just as a reminder that we need to change. As a country, somebody should be putting Drano down the drain to clear that clog that's there. And you know who the clog is in the drain. You know who it is. And I hope that during the midterm elections that everything swings. Well, we can put some Drano in that clog and flush that situation on out. Because even then, we're going to have to run some water down it to clean up what's left behind, the residue of what's left behind. So I hope I drawn this out. I hope I made a good point. I hope I made some good points and I kept you entertained through that. Well, not entertained, but I took you through some factual points, facts. Not a bunch of lies that somebody put together. I put you out some facts, and I'm going to continue to do this. It may not take as long as it did today, but my goal was to put out facts and let you go back and research them for yourself. And now we're at the end of this thing. I want to tell you, I hope I didn't mean to take it this long, but as I always do, I say, thank God that we got here. We need to get out of where we at. We need to get out of where we at. We need to look at the things that's going on in this country while we're evaluating our next candidate for office. Charlie Kirk says it best. But I ain't going to end on Charlie Kirk. I'm going to end on something that I want you to understand. And something that I put out before, and I'm going to keep repeating this also. There was a video that showed up on my computer screen one night. Wasn't even expecting it. A box in an airplane freight. One of those big metal things with the wheels on it that you tow on the back of a car. it was a box sitting in there. I didn't know what it was. I was like, what's going on? But in that box was a coffin. In that box was a coffin. And that box, that coffin, it was white guys standing around. I'm gonna tell you the story all the time because you need to know. You need to know. They pulled that coffin out, and that man, it was only one black person, dressed like a person from Chicago, decked from head to toe. Had that hat on, had that coat on, and he was securing that body into that hearse. Go out there and find it. It's on the internet. Out of everything that's going on in this country, you didn't give this man the decency of a Charlie Kirk. As he screwed that screw into the bottom to secure that coffin from moving around. The words that I remember him saying is, "Welcome home. Welcome home. Welcome home." That was the body of Jesse Jackson. Charlie Kirk should never be mentioned in the same sentence as Jesse Jackson. I'm out. Y'all have a good one.